Hey everybody, and welcome back to You Are Supreme Toys. Today we're going to be doing another action figure review. We're going to start looking at the GHOSTBUSTERS Afterlife action figures. These are from 2020 and made by Hasbro. Now, I grew up with the original animated GHOSTBUSTERS toy line and cartoon series. I have some very fond memories as a kid playing with those toys and watching that show. So it's a little bit difficult to judge anything new based solely on that nostalgic factor, as these figures are very reminiscent in style as those toys, but they're also not quite the same. Now, the packaging is very standard on this. I like the animated look that they give the characters on the packaging, and really it kind of translates very well to the characters themselves. I would like to have seen them do an actual animated series for these characters. The podcast really caught my eye for the simple reason of the eyeball ghost right here. This is a reimagining of the original eyeball ghost, and I can already tell you right from the get-go, this is nothing compared to the original eyeball ghost. It appears that if you look at that little insert, which we'll see closer, that maybe the eye flips around, and that's part of its fright feature. But the original eyeball ghost was like this big, and you squeezed it and it could pop the eyeball out on a string. And I had that toy, and that was a great toy. It was rubber, it was well sculpted, it had some limited articulation like this one does, but they've kind of packed it in a little tighter, squished it up a little bit. The packaging on these toys are very bland, as is the case with most Hasbro action figures today. The back of the cards are just garbage. Now, as far as the front goes, these look really nice in the package. I think they, if you wanted to keep these mint on card and hang them on your wall, they look good. I like the little splash across the top with the caution tape and the no ghost symbol. Gotta have that no ghost symbol. And like I said, the very front has that banner with the animated style podcast character. So let's go ahead and get podcast open. I do like this about the card. I don't know if you can really tell, but they have these little like outline pictures of the marshmallows and the backpacks and the little vehicles and some of the ghosts and the Ecto. Bubble. Wow, more of that delicious Hasbro paper. I think I might just start eating this stuff. Close up of podcast right there. I do like these little fright feature banners that they stick inside the card. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this ghost. I'm very curious about this ghost. Very wobbly. Very wobbly. Huh. I'm not sure if he's supposed to stay stuck together or... Oh, you have to push his arms in. Okay. His eye does rotate. This is such a tiny version of the eyeball monster. His arms are articulated. He has a button here on the back. There's not a lot of spaces to grab him though. And then you push that button and that flips his eye around. That's pretty cool. And it opens up to reveal a skull type appearance underneath. It's okay. This is definitely not on par with the classic Ghostbuster toys by any stretch of the imagination. The sculpt's okay. Paint apps are very minimal. I do like the eye. The eye looks great. You don't even have to push the button to flip it. That's nice. All the Ghostbusters in the original line came with a translucent, clear, colorful, unpainted slug figure ghost accessory. And those were great. The sculpts were amazing. They didn't have all these, extra gimmicks and stuff. The sculpting details on this is pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good backpack. I could see you customizing this, painting it up, and it would look pretty darn good, I think. But as it is, it's just straight black. I'm even surprised that they sculpted stuff on the back, because usually you're just going to stick this on the back of the figure. Now, the hose is a soft plastic material. It is not bendy. And it is one piece with the gun. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's fine for what it is. One thing I will say I think is a missed opportunity, because the originals, the hose was just a string, had a plastic proton blast that came out of it that you could twist and make it look like it was spinning to capture ghosts. Now, this is okay if you just want a display piece, but at the very least, I feel like they should have had a photon attachment, like you see in the actual packaging, this yellow and blue. That would have been great. And then, of course, we get podcast here. Probably my second favorite character from the movie. And he's got a typical 5 points of articulation. His head turns, shoulders, and he's nice and tight, and his hips. There are no wrist articulations, no other thigh cuts or anything. He has a little slot on his back for the proton pack. The face sculpt is actually pretty soft and nice. I like the most is he has podcasts that he wrote himself on his jumpsuit, and that Tampo Ghostbuster symbol is very good, very well done. Pretty standard paint job, nothing spectacular here. The straps for his backpack are painted, his elbow pads are painted. Got a little scuff there on the elbow, nothing too serious. And the hands are painted separately, although it's not very clean once it meets the edge of the sleeve. And of course his shoes are painted. Pretty basic. The hairpiece on the head is a separate piece, so the only features on his face that are painted are his eyes and eyebrows. Proton pack clips snugly on his back. Looks pretty good too. Now, I'm kind of like, I want to be able to. Part of me wants him to be able to hold it in both hands, and I feel like that's where they could have at least put a wrist articulation, because he could have held it here and then held it at the top of the gun. But as it is, there's not a lot of options. As soft as the material is, I guess you could kind of fight it over to the other side, and it's not that big a deal, and it works. But he can't point it at nothing that way. At least with this hand, he can have it pointing in a somewhat reasonable direction. I don't care for that. Although, when I think of the vintage line, it wasn't much different. Very basic action figure. I would say that this Ghost is a little bit more, complicated than Podcast. I feel like more money probably went into this Ghost. But I like this figure. This is decent. Just for scale. Let's get the measuring tape out. This is a 4.5-inch figure. So he's not going to fit in with a lot of things. If you need a little kid figure that, could probably sit in with maybe a 7-inch scale or 8-inch scale line, and you've got a little kid that can fit in pretty well, as is the case with most of these guys. This has been the Ghostbusters Afterlife podcast, and I am UR Supreme Toys. Thank you for watching.